In the middle of a long and hard workday at Blizzard Entertainment, slaving away at not making any video games whatsoever and farming out the IPs that you should be making games about to China, the company has found itself betwixt a rock and the gay bar that he presumably frequents, as one of their voice actors has delivered a stunning and brave appeal as to why her entire career and profession in general should be replaced by artificial intelligence, as she has decided that it is wise indeed to bite deep into the hand that feeds, demanding that Blizzard redesign one of their recently released heroes to be less conventionally attractive. It's 2014 again, I suppose. You would think that this would be a demand immediately shot down by Blizzard, but well, see, Blizzard is one of very few companies that has actually succeeded, heavy quotation marks intended, in attracting the wider audience, to the point where they are now audience captured by that audience. It is their sole remaining player base, and if it leaves, not only is Blizzard's reputation as a political company, which is the only reputation Blizzard has remaining at this point. I mean, what else are they supposed to be known for? Warcraft? StarCraft? Diablo? Beyond Hearthstone, I guess that's their sole remaining pseudo kind of active and popular entity. Blizzard Entertainment is simply just coasting off the back of previous nostalgia and the 5 million people out there that still somehow log into World of Warcraft every day. But Overwatch is certainly not one of their successes. And so when they announced that they will rework the game, well, the response was immediate and come from a rather interesting area as well. This is the proverbial rock in this question here, as China says they cherish Anran's current look as Blizzard plans to modify her, even going on to say, "We have always felt proud of addition of another Chinese hero, Anran, and have deeply appreciated the love and sincere feedback from the Chinese player community since her debut," they said. "We understand that aesthetic preferences are rooted in different cultural backgrounds and personal perceptions. We have consistently communicated to the Blizzard team that Chinese players recognize and cherish Anran's current image." Right. Blizzards have found themselves in a rather interesting position. Their most rapidly growing market, China, a market that they have also placed enormous amounts of resources into and bent over backwards in order to please, to the point of tearing open their own anuses and offering up StarCraft as what is in all due likelihood a sacrifice of the Chinese deities, well, they're now caught in between them and their progressive fans. The progressive hordes who do not like conventionally attractive women in their video games, and still, even to this day, have enough pull over certain corporations to make them listen, as Blizzard is kind of an impossible position. If they ignore their progressive fans, the one that fly their flags loudly and proudly, they will cancel Blizzard. And again, their only remaining street cred is in being progressive. Simultaneously, if they go ahead and listen to them, they will start alienating their largest market and the people they are currently trying to work hand in hand with to actually produce a video game for them. Meanwhile, everybody else is, well, looking elsewhere whenever possible, to the point where Blizzard had to, of course, in essence, cancel Overwatch 2 and roll it into Overwatch 1. Blizzard says Overwatch 2 is being renamed back to Overwatch, starting with its next season on February 10th. This also, incidentally, saw an actual spike in the player numbers for the first time in, years? Yeah, it's been a while. Oh god, it has been a while. Yeah. Anyways, there was a nice little spike there, boosting up to a grand total of, 165,000. That's not bad for rolling the games into one and making it Overwatch again. And also, interestingly, Overwatch has also recently been trying to release more traditionally feminine heroes, shall we say, appealing to the traditional audience, although that's probably circling the drain right now, considering their progressive audience's response. But simultaneously, a game that ripped off Overwatch as hard as it conceivably can, well, it had 112,000 people in the last 24-hour peak. And that isn't because of a major update or rolling 2 games into one or anything, that's just a regular week. In fact, that's the low point after several years of activity, with a peak of 644,000 players. Even if we took the Overwatch numbers and tripled them to take into account SteamDB's being unable to log things like the Blizzard launcher, which is unlikely, by the way, since the majority of people would still be using the Steam launcher over the Blizzard one. It's still not even matching up to Marvel Rivals' greatest peak. And indeed, even this peak fails to impress in the face of just a regular day for Marvel Rivals. And why could that be? You know my opinion on it. It's because the entire Marvel's Rivals teams are consistently dedicated to simply making Sue Storm's ass bigger in every single update. Surprise, surprise, it seems popular. Meanwhile, Blizzard Entertainment is busy flying more pride flags, or making sure that their internal LGBTQ alliance, they have one of those, is properly pleased by, being allowed to drape their business offices in their colors. Yeah, this is probably also one of the reasons why they're farming out one of, you'd think, their premier IPs to China. I mean, listen. Blizzard is one of those weird institutions where they have the manpower and the financial capital to do pretty much whatever they want, and they are sitting upon IPs that people are dying to get more of. They could release virtually anything related to StarCraft and it would sell like mad. They could announce StarCraft 4 and it would sell like mad in pre-orders alone. They could announce Warcraft 4, and even though everybody knows that it will be developed by these people and will probably simply be a rerun of Warcraft 3 Reforged, it's still going to sell like crazy. Even Diablo 4, a title that has virtually nothing to do with Diablo, still sold surprisingly well, due largely to the fact that a bunch of normies saw the title. Like, oh, Diablo, that's that super popular thing everybody was talking about 30 years ago, and that is indeed correct. Even if 4 has very little to do with that, well, the new customers aren't going to know, now are they? It's also rather fascinating that they chose a Chinese company to do this, perhaps because certain other Chinese companies had significant success with their competitors, the game that is literally out-competing Overwatch by simply being Overwatch with bigger asses and a grander selection of them. Who knows, who knows? Even as Blizzard themselves seem incapable of actually producing any video games, and you've gotta assume they're trying to, right? They can't have their entire team just working on yet another World of Warcraft sequel, or support for Hearthstone, or that weird little MOBA thingy they've got. Surely they've got loads of people trying to make new games, and just, well, failing at it, I would assume, to the point where whenever they produce something worth looking at, one of the old veterans of the studio pass by, look at it, shakes his head in deep despair, and then wonders if he can fire these people, but oh, guessy whatty, they do have some special protection and a massive built-up union within Blizzard as well, so no is the answer to that. And even if you could fire them, you're currently being besieged by your own fans. Oh boy. This is also an amusing little aside here too, but for the largest part of gaming's history, gamers have been far too forgiving about things. That's a large part of the reason why we found ourselves in the current woke hellholish nightmare that we are currently in, because we were all willing to simply turn the other cheek and look away and like, oh, you know, they're clearly getting political, but, you know, so long as they make the good games, I guess I don't care that much. 10 years later, they're not making good games anymore, but they sure are producing a heck of a lot of politics. Meanwhile, the fans of today, they get upset over the slightest thing. Okay, so I've even seen a counter-argument here as well, stating that this side isn't actually arguing for a major revamp or making the character uglier. They simply want to make her a little bit more masculine, a little bit less slim around the face, etc. Some minor adjustments to bring her in line with the previous trailer. Okay, you know what, I can even see an argument there, but the sheer vitriol that has been on display over this really suggests to me that that's not really the case here. Not at all. So what is Blizzard going to do? Well, they're gonna have to choose the bend to knee to someone, and they've already announced a surrender to the progressive. How will this work with the Chinese player base? I guess when push really comes to shove, the people at Blizzard, the people inside Blizzard, are still the ones calling the shots politically. Meaning that at least for the moment, as long as the mountain of gold that is WoW still continues to produce, and honestly, there's no reason to assume that it wouldn't at this point, as World of Warcraft has been able to survive its own extinction event like 7 times over at this point. I mean, it's fucking a theme park now, focusing more on housing than plot development. Oh, details. I'll get on over to there. So clearly, the people internally to Blizzard still have more pull than their, well, financial department. And apparently as well, China is all too happy to hoover up all of the West's IPs in return for, well, nothing, presumably, and being able to make things their way, in the privacy of their own country. Incidentally, with the release of the Seed Dance Thingy 2, at this point, I am pretty much sure that we've already ceded the position of cultural hegemon to China, so be prepared for some very interesting, albeit quality entertainment for a short period at least. Just, we're gonna have to start dubbing everything, because it's all gonna be produced in Mandarin. Thanks, Blizzard. Thanks. Till next time, I've been Arch. Thank you very much for watching. I do hope to see you all again soon. Have a good day.